I do have time for an introduction. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hey everybody, my name is Trey, for those of you who do not know me, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time, I do encourage you guys to like, subscribe, and all that other stuff so you can get all of my stories. If you guys don't know, I do post different content on YouTube and on TikTok, just, for fun things. And you may also know I'm really not that much of a pre-talker, so I don't know what else to tell you guys right now. I will tell you though that today's story is actually been highly requested. And only requested because the original story that is on my TikTok channel, it never got finished. This story is actually the reason why I really made it a point that I would never do part twos. Although I did do a part two like 2 weeks ago, but that was actually a mistake. I didn't mean to do it like that. It's just the way it rolled out. I just had to do it. Please forgive me. I feel like y'all forgive me. Anyway, I've already wasted a minute of your time yapping, so let's go ahead and get into today's story. Today we're going to talk about the unfortunate murder of Michelle Lynn Craite. August the 26th, 2008. The police department received a phone call that a house was on fire on Timber Ridge Lane. Within minutes, the police were dispatched out to the home and they arrived with the firefighters. Now, the main portion of the house was completely engulfed in flames as the fire broke through the windows. The firefighters fought and they finally were able to get the fire to come down and cease. Once the fire had gone down, they entered the house and they searched through all the rooms. And room by room, they discovered the massive damage that this fire had started. They went from the kitchen to the living room to the dining room, and then they started checking the bedrooms. Now, they didn't really find anything until they got to the master bedroom. Inside the master bedroom, through the smoldering smoke that was in there, they found a body. Now, the body was face down, and it was so charred that the fire actually went through to the bone. When the body was discovered, that's when the police and the investigators were involved. Starting off the investigation was Officer Carl Short and investigator Mike Shaw with the Biloxi Police Department. They started their investigation in the carport. Now, in the carport, they found a red Ford Explorer and they ran the license plates. The license plate came back as belonging to Michelle. Also in the carport, they found a red gas can. Now, the gas can itself wasn't suspicious, but where it was is a place that you normally wouldn't place a gas can. Now, while they were searching the carport, another investigator, Michael Manna, was actually taking pictures of the body that they had found. Before the body was identified, he noted that it was so charred and blackened because of the smoke and fire, it was impossible to tell if it was a man or a woman. Now, even though they had found this body in this state inside of the house, it wasn't quite enough evidence to determine if it was a homicide or an accident. So they contacted the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Let me just pause by saying that sounds amazing. I mean, honestly, I think I would love to work there. Now, when they contacted the special bureau, they actually sent a couple of agents out. And these agents brought with them what's called a fire dog. Now, a fire dog, for those of you who do not know, is a dog that is specially trained to sniff out accelerants used in cases of arson. So in these cases, if a fire dog goes into a home or a place of business and they smell someplace where an accelerant was used, they would normally sit or they would bark or they would move in circles, but they would do something to indicate that they had found something. They brought these dogs in hoping to see if these dogs would be able to detect anything that was used inside of her home. Once the dogs were let inside the house, they let them loose and immediately the dogs started picking up spots where accelerants had been used. The dogs notified the investigators at spots in the hallways and the carport where that red gasoline was, and even on the front porch. They picked up some spots in the kitchen and they picked up a lot in the bedroom, the same master bedroom where Michelle's body was found face down. The body was sent in for an autopsy, and honestly, it sounds pretty horrible. During this autopsy, they were able to positively identify the body using medical and dental records only. Also, during this autopsy, they found that the body of Michelle had stab wounds to her back, severe burns all over her body, once again going down to the bone. They found blisters in her mouth, her tongue, her throat, and her larynx. Also, during the autopsy, they found high levels of carbon monoxide inside of her blood. This is a clear indicator that she was alive and breathing in all the smoke. They took another look at the stab wounds and they noted that the stab wounds would have been fatal within about an hour or so. However, it was determined that she died by smoke inhalation and fire at first. The stab wounds would have incapacitated her so that she was not able to leave or move herself away from the fire and smoke. Once all these were looked at, it was truly determined that this was a homicide. So lead investigator Sergeant Christopher DeBeck, which, let me just say, I love that name. But anyway, Sergeant Christopher DeBeck, he started asking friends and families and neighbor, who is Michelle Lynn Craite? During their investigation and their interviews of the neighbors and friends and family, they let them know that Michelle was originally from Michigan and she moved to Biloxi, and in 2008, or around this time, she actually had a live-in boyfriend. Now, Sergeant Christopher DeBeck was a little confused because he can normally smell losers from a mile around, but he didn't pick up a trace of a loser at this house. The neighbors told him, well, he may not be at home because he does drive a 99 green Honda Passport. Now, since there was another person that was thrown into the investigation, Officer DeBeck knew that he had to move quick. Submitting in the information, he was able to get a subpoena where he could search through Michelle's phone records and her bank statements. He was able to get the bank statements first, and that's when he came across a couple of unusual purchases. There was a total of $918.16 that was used at the D'Iberville Walmart. Now, that in and of itself wasn't the crazy part. The crazy part was that it happened while Michelle was being burned alive. There was also $116.18 purchase that was made at a Shell gas station. Now, this Shell gas station was in Mobile, Alabama. Now, in quite possibly the quickest case of getting warrants and subpoenas, they was able to get another subpoena to get the surveillance footage from that Walmart, and they got it. And that's when they came across Timothy. Timothy had gone to Walmart and withdrew $500 from the ATM. But that wasn't the only thing that he did while he was in there. See, while he was there, he actually went to the jewelry department and he came across a ring. Timothy's a romantic and he really wanted to buy this engagement ring. Now, while he was there to purchase a specific ring, the manager informed him that that ring was not available at that point in time, but they could order it for him. But that's not good enough for Timothy, so he decided to get another ring instead. This ring was $318.16, and being the kind of guy who loves to withdraw money, he also did the cashback function and got an extra $100 back from the cashier. After he left the Walmart, he headed out east, and that's where he passed through Mobile, Alabama, and he stopped at the gas station and spent $116. Now, I don't know what the hell you spend $116 on at a gas station, but, cigarettes were definitely a part of it. Now, anyway, the police, they see him on the surveillance system, and they're trying to figure out, what is this man doing? That's when they decided to make the trip to the Walmart where they confronted the supervisor at the store. Break the store. Yes, he was here. Yes, he tried to purchase one ring, but it wasn't available, so he got another ring. Yes, he did get an extra $100. Yes, he is that ugly.
Ma'am. She not talking to me like...
So now that the police had a positive ID on the man, they had to figure out where he was going. That's when the subpoena for the phone records came back. When the subpoena came back, they discovered that Michelle Lynn Craite actually had two phones under her name. One was hers and one belonged to Timothy. And Timothy's phone was making an awful lot of phone calls to a 904 number. Now, this 904 area code is from the northeast portion of Florida. It didn't take them long to realize that this number belonged to Heather Hemdall, and she resided in Middlesburg, Florida. Now, when they checked on the text messages from Timothy to Heather, they found a whole lot of things up in there. In these text messages, he was asking Heather things like, hey, do you want a TV? Do you want an Xbox? He was really putting a Mac on when he was talking to Heather. It didn't take them long to actually figure out where Heather was, and they immediately sent 2 U.S. Marshals to go track him down. August 27, 2008, Heather and Tim, they decided to go shopping.
I think we're spending too much money.
Oh, I know. What do you need to buy now? Don't you love me?
And that's where the 2 U.S. Marshals approached them. Timothy really didn't put up a fight, so it was actually easy to get both of them. Now, Heather was confused. Her new beau is now getting arrested by U.S. Marshals? What has this man done? The U.S. Marshals, they went ahead and locked up Timothy, but then they went to Heather. They started asking her some questions like, what is your role in all of this? According to Heather, her and Timothy actually met online in July, like the month prior to. Now, she knew Timothy was living with somebody, but Timothy had told her that Michelle Lynn Craite was his roommate, not his girlfriend. The night before the murder, Timothy had called Heather on the phone, and they were just having a good conversation. Sometime during that conversation, Michelle came in and just started yelling at Timothy. Somehow, Michelle had found out that Timothy was getting ready to leave her and go all the way out to Florida to be with his new boo thing. And she was hurt. I mean, who wouldn't be? Now, Timothy would later go on to explain what happened this way. Timothy only liked Michelle for her money. He would later go on to describe Michelle as a rich widow and an alcoholic millionaire. So he was hitting the coochie just for the change. The entire time that he was with Michelle, he was constantly stealing money from her. He was using her money to buy things such as televisions and Xboxes. The same things that he was asking Heather did she want. He also got her to sign over one of her vehicles in his name. She was basically his sugar mama. But she didn't know that she was his sugar mama. Now, Timothy took advantage of this, and he described their meeting as love at first sight. I can imagine it went something like this. Now, Heather would go on to visit Timothy when he was arrested in prison. They had a real heart-to-heart moment behind bars. In the end, he was sentenced to death on October the 8th, 2010. And till this day, he is still sitting on death row in the Mississippi Department of Corrections. Crazy, right? And that's it, you guys. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this story. For those of y'all who may be wondering, I actually had done a part 1 to this story, which is down below. It's near the beginning of one of my series. You can look for this picture here if you want to watch it. As always, I do want to thank you guys for all the love and support that you show me. Make sure you guys check out my TikTok channel for more videos that are coming all the time. Now, I know I really haven't been all that consistent with my lives, my story times. However, I am looking into becoming more consistent with my lives every other week. And I do have a few other things that I do want to present to you guys that I think is just going to be the bee's knees. So you have to make sure that you follow me on TikTok to catch me. In either case, I want to thank you guys for being here. I do hope that you have a great day. Make sure you guys like and comment with your thoughts and feelings on this. If you have any other suggestions, let me know in my DMs or in my comment section. I'll be glad. And as always, stay safe. I love you. And y'all have a good day now.